You know, niggas gotta get their priorities together. Got their mind on the wrong things, spending their money in the wrong way.
Trapaholics, real trap shit.
Say you need that car with the rims and a trunk, just like Jim. It's more than life. Yeah.
I'm telling you. Talk to him.
Say you need that LV bag with the belt and the hat.
That's all you got though.
It's more than life. Yeah.
Talk to him. Real.
Say you wanna turn up at the club, like some bottles, impress them girls. It's more than life.
Fucking everybody.
Yeah.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Saints and Appetizers podcast. And who dat? And welcome back. We have some more main course for you this evening. Some more main course, and I'm talking about the Saints' 34-26 win over the Tennessee Titans this past Sunday, and that brings the Saints' season record total to 6-10, and that drops the Tennessee Titans to 3-13. So that's a 34-26 victory. The Saints essentially scoring 30 points 2 weeks in a row. I know it was just 29 against the Jets, but I didn't expect the Saints to have another offensive outburst, 2 weeks in a row to where they're scoring almost 30 points a week, like in 2 weeks in a row, and your quarterback's throwing for 300 yards 2 weeks in a row. Like, I could have never guessed that. So I was being kind of more cautious with my predictions. But honestly, I thought the Saints were cooked in this game once I heard a couple of these stats and a couple of these plays happened early on in this game. But yeah, the first one I heard where I thought, oh, for sure the Saints are going to get ran all over in this game and probably lose a close one. Another annoying one basically was hearing that Tony Pollard coming into this game had rushed for 100 yards like 3 games in a row. So I was like, oh, for sure the Saints have been like one thing that's definitely been terrible and kind of consistent for this team pretty much all year is that the running game is kind of sketchy and kind of suspect. But hey, they did a good job against Tony Pollard, allowing him just to have 18 carries for 85 yards, 4.7 long, and a 4.7 average and a 25-yard long. And then just the team total, they only allowed the Titans to have 28 carries for 108 yards, which is a 3.9-yard average, and the long was the 25-yard by Tony Pollard. But yeah, I would have assumed that the Titans would have gotten a lot more rushing yards than this, or would have really leaned in to the running game, especially later in the game. And I mean, they got up early on the Saints 13-0. So you would think you just run, try to run the clock out. And then even into the second half, they had a 10-point lead, 20-10. So you thought for sure like they would definitely be leaning on that running pass. But I mean, it ended up with Cam Ward throwing it like 40 times, which helped the Saints a whole lot. And with his like running around and stuff like that, like Cam Ward, he'd like run around a lot, and the Saints would lose. Classic defense is great at like losing containment on the quarterback and then them rushing and picking up a lot of yards. But you didn't really see that a lot out of Cam Ward. He only actually rushed for 2 times for 10 yards. Most of the time that he was scrambling and rolling out of the pocket and things like that, he was looking to throw the ball. Whether that ended up being the wisest decision for him or not, I don't really know. But I know the Saints pretty much all season, and just historically, the Saints get chewed up by mobile quarterbacks picking up those yards on third and long a lot of times, where you think, oh, sure, the pass rush is going to get to them, and next thing you know, how they're picking up 10, 15 yards on a run and picking up a first down. But you didn't get that much from Cam Ward. And then the other thing that I thought had me thinking for sure that the Saints were going to be cooked in this game, and was kind of concerned about Tyler Shuck in this game, was going into this game, we said, if nothing else, we just don't want any players to get hurt, and a good way for that is for Tyler Shuck to be protected and not get beat up too much with sacks and hits on the quarterback and things like that. And the very first play of this game offensively for the Saints, he gets just number 66, the offensive guard number 66 for the Saints, just gets absolutely bull rushed, and Jeremy Simmons just engulfs Tyler Shuck on their first offensive play. Like hearing about them having a pretty consistent 100-yard rusher in Turney Pollard, and then seeing Tyler Shuck just get engulfed and eaten on the first offensive play of this game made me think, oh, for sure, this is not going to go well. But this game just went kind of how pretty much all the Saints games have gone here this season, and definitely since Shuck has become the quarterback, to where they're kind of a slow starter. They're terrible when it comes to like giving up early leads to their opponents, and then they're having to fight and claw back to just get back in the game. And they've done that all year, and they were doing it even early, like the beginning of the season when Spencer Rattler was the quarterback. But the difference between him and Tyler Shuck is they've actually been able to get back into these games with Tyler Shuck and actually win some of them. So yeah, you just definitely saw another game here where Tyler Shuck, the team got down 13-0 and then 20-0, and then Tyler Shuck just basically put the team on his back. So Tyler Shuck, he ended up having 22 carries. 22 carries or 20. I had 27 attempts with 22 completions, and then that's 33 yards for 33 yards, 12.3 average, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions, 2 sacks for 13 lost, and 82 QBR, and a rating of 142.7. So yeah, Tyler Shuck having another nice day and not another nice performance in 2 games in a row. And I mean, I understand what the whole judgment about that, the whole sense coming to your senses about that would be, oh, of course they played the Jets, they played the Titans, but I'm still enjoying the games. If nothing else, they're still enjoyable seeing them come back and beating these so-called crap teams. But before the Saints ran into some of these teams, and Tyler Shuck started being the starter, the Saints were the crap team, like the Titans and the Jets and the Raiders, But you're not getting that now that Tyler Shuck. It feels like no matter what the deficit is, or how much ever time's left in the game, that the Saints still have an opportunity to win the game. That's what it feels like. And then you had Andrick Estime had a good game as well. He had 14 carries for 94 yards, 6.7 average, and 1 touchdown. And that 32-yard run late in the game. That was in the fourth quarter, where it looked like he just got swole up at the line of scrimmage, and then he bounced outside the line of scrimmage and then took off for a 32-yard run. It looked like he was dead to rights on the run, and somehow was able to get out of there and get going. But the Saints have done a good job in replacing their running back, because it seems like it's a new guy every week. They're down to their 4th and 5th guy after no Kamara, no Kendra Miller, no Devin Neal, but now you got Andre Estime almost running for 100 yards. It would have been really nice if he would have been able to get 100-yard rushing, because I don't think the Saints have had a 100-yard rusher like all season. They had one game where Alvin Kamara had 100 yards on the stats originally, and then they must have went back and edited it and only had 99 yards. But it was nice to see Andre Estime get loose in this game, and it showed you how even better Tyler Shuck can look and can be when he actually has a serviceable running game, because you start getting that pass rush, that play action play involved, and it just seems like he has a ton more time to throw in those situations because of that. And then another player having another big game, two big games in a row, just like Tyler Shuck. He had Chris Olave had 8 catches for 118 yards, 14.9 average, a touchdown, a long of 60 off of 11 targets. And then Dewan Johnson had four, four catches for 95 yards, a 23.8 average, a long of 39 off of four targets. We'll talk about Dante Pettis here because I mean he did have an amazing play. He had three catches for 53 yards, a 17.7 average, and he should have had a touchdown in this game if he wouldn't have been quite so loose with the ball. But then he had a 32-yard touchback off of four targets. But that was one of the craziest plays. Like kind of like in the game against the Jets, I felt that the Saints could just get up by a touchdown on the Titans and the game would be over and they would win. And I thought they were going to get that with the Dante Pettis play where he broke about what a half a dozen tackles, and then right as he's getting to the end zone, it gets punched out, and somehow I have no idea how Saints player didn't fall on it because there was literally like Juwan Johnson and another player like right there, like fell on top of it, and somehow a Titans player came up with it for the touchback. That was so crazy, and those are the type of plays like I've kind of felt like I've kind of lost my competitive drive and emotion since the NOLA no call, but plays like that and the team being a little bit more feisty and seeing some winning possibility out of the team get you kind of fired up off of plays like that. Yeah, Dante Pettis, he definitely didn't help himself uh, any at all with that in regards to him getting any kind of touches on offense. You may just be relegated to special teams if you're going to have plays like that. But then you had also had Kevin Austin Jr. had four catches for 52 yards off of with a 13 average, a touchdown, and a long of 36 off of five targets. So I mean, that's the thing that like a good quarterback, an elite quarterback, a franchise quarterback can do. He can raise the potential and the ability of the players around him. Like who would have been thinking when Tyler Shuck was or not Tyler Shuck, but Spencer Rattler was the quarterback, that you'd have Dante Pettis and Kevin Austin Jr. have 50 yards receiving in a game. Like, no, like it was Chris Olave, Juwan Johnson, Rashid Shaheed, or nothing, or death, or Alvin Kamara. That was about it. But yeah, he's making these guys that are literally practice squad players, making them into viable options. And then on defense, you had Alante Taylor had 9 total tackles, 7 solo, four pass deflections, and one quarterback hit. He was one play on the secondary, kind of got burned a couple times in this game. But yeah, those four pass deflections, those four pass deflections are a little annoying because if his hands weren't bricks, he'd have probably had an interception or two, and those were coming off of those Cam Ward plays where he was like rolling out of the pocket and the defensive line couldn't get him on the ground, and he's having like forever to throw. And yeah, Alante Taylor jumped a couple of those, but was never able to come down with them. And then Kool-Aid McKinstry had 6 total tackles, 4 solo, and 2 pass deflections. And man, he should have had one more tackle than that because on one of those plays where the Saints had a breakdown in the secondary, you could kind of just see him kind of jogging towards the play, going like towards the sideline, and then when he got to the offensive player, to try to wrap him up, he just tried to strip the ball out and just completely whiffed on the tackle and basically allowed the touchdown there. So Kool-Aid McKinstry, kind of just like Alante Taylor, Quincy Riley, and Jonas Sanker. The only one that can't really be dismissed as kind of just a young player is Justin Reed, who got called for pretty bad pass interference that ended up leading to a touchdown and the Titans having the ball like inside the Saints 5 there. But yeah, you can't be stripping the ball when there's no other players around. Like you can't be going. You got to go for the tackle. You got to get the player on the ground. And then Demario Davis had 6 total tackles, half a sack, and a quarterback hit. Cameron Jordan had 5 total tackles, two solo, a sack, 1 tackle for loss, 2 quarterback hits, and I think he had. Let's see, I think he forced a fumble there too. Forced a fumble, but didn't recover it. And then Chase Young had 4 total tackles, three solo, 1.5 sack, tackle for loss, 2 quarterback hits, and a touchdown that came off of a crazy play and a very kind of a very similar play to the touchdown fumble recovery for a touchdown that he had in his rookie season when he was playing for the Redskins. That he similar that he picked it up and took it off and there, took off with it and just there's no one even close to being around him when he got that. But yeah, that was a pretty close play. I'm almost surprised that they didn't whistle that dead or go back and look at it and say that Cam Ward was down. Just with how the referees in this game kind of all game seemed kind of suspect to me. They were very quick on the whistle on plays, like whistling it dead when, hey, maybe this is a turnover, where they were very quick to show like replays of Saints catches, where, oh, maybe there's potential for it to have not been a catch, or maybe it was a catch, and so they're real quick on the reviews for those. And then if there was a play similar to that for the Titans, you wouldn't see it for a while, like they wouldn't show the replay of it, and then they just move on to the next play without even regarding it at all, not even making note of it. And the big one with saying the officiating seemed kind of sus in this game. And it's been a while. I haven't really felt that way very often in the 2025 season, that the refereeing has been kind of suspect and felt kind of against this. I don't know if that's because the Saints just kind of started winning again, and that makes me feel more competitive to kind of call out bad officiating, because kind of before it's like, who cares, But yeah, the one big officiating blunders in this game was on a play where Cam Ward was like scrambling out of the pocket, and it looked like defenders about had him wrapped up, and then like at the last second he just kind of throws it, and it looks like it was a lateral or straight down the line type of throw, where it looked like it might have been a backwards pass, and it hit off of his, like the front of his offensive lineman's helmet, and like went backwards, and like immediately the referees are like blowing the whistle and blowing the play dead, and it's like, hey, hey, like that was a fumble, and it looked like a Saints defender was right there to scoop it up and probably scoop and score with it. But no, you got the refs whistling it and dead like right away, and didn't ended up not calling a penalty for either illegal touching or intentional grounding, because that football did not make it back to the line of scrimmage, and it wasn't thrown to a skills position player. It was thrown at his offensive lineman. So that was probably the worst offensive call in this game, and it could have cost the Saints in this game, honestly, because this was it ended up being only an 8-point game. But if the Saints lost this game, that would have been a play I think people would be coming back and making quite a bit more note of. But yeah, the officiating was kind of sus in this game. And then, like I said, there was some early on in the game, there were some breakdowns in the secondary, and I want to say the young secondary, but one of them came on Justin Reed, who isn't a young player, who's a veteran. But I've seen some reports out there, or comments out there about that play, kind of saying that uh, that wasn't his who he was supposed to be covering, like that wasn't his man or whatever. But and he was just kind of trying to get over there to help uh, make the play not end up being a big play, but it'd have been better just letting it go and getting the pass interference, because it may have been out of reach anyways. But and the last kind of defenders here, you got Jonah Williams had 3 total tackles, two solo, also had a sack and 1 tackle for loss and a quarterback hit. But yeah, so the Saints had a total of 4 sacks in this game, and then they had the forced fumble return for a touchdown by Chase Young, who I feel like the Saints are getting a bargain having Chase Young under contract. Whether they signed him for a 3-year extension for 70 million, and like there's like other edge rushers, pass rushers in the league that have played like at his level, and the fact that he's missed 5 games to start the season. There's guys out there that are getting like 40 million a year. Definitely getting the peak Chase Young at a discount, and it's nice having at least one or two great defenders. And then no, I didn't have any interceptions. Even though Alante Taylor probably should have had a couple, but he had on kick returns. Dante Pettis had 4 kick returns for 97 yards, a 24.3 average, a 32 long, and Evan Hull had 1 for 29, average of 29 long, 29, and Dante Pettis had 2 punt returns for 22 yards, average of 11 and a long of 17. And then Charlie Smith still still some hiccups every once in a while, but still an impressive performance by him because he was 2 of 3 on field goals. He actually missed the one that was inside. That was a 40-yarder. It was what, like a 47-yarder, 43-yarder, something like that. But then he goes on to make another 50-yarder, and then he breaks his NFL career record of a 56 and makes a 57-yarder in this game, and then is perfect 4 for 4 on extra points. But one of those, which was still crucial in this game, for I think it was a moment where the Saints were going to tie up the game, and his one of his extra points, it banged off the upright, and luckily it banged in, or the Saints would have been trailing still by like 1 point in the game at one point in this game. And then Kai Kroger, that's something I would like to see the Saints be doing here this week, early in this week, would be looking at punters to replace Kai Kroger. Like, good Lord. One of his first 2 punts, one of them was like a 17-yard punt, and it came after they had a play overturned as a turnover. I believe that they said it was going to be a turnover by the Saints. I can't remember if it was a fumble or maybe it wasn't an interception, and then it ended up the Titans ended up getting the ball like in the pretty much the same place that they would have if they'd have just kept the turnover for them, because then Kai Kroger like kicks a 17-yard punt, like it goes 17 yards, and then it ends up starting the drive at the Titans like 35 yard line anyways. But yeah, he was 3 for 96 with an average of 32 and just a long of 41. No touchbacks, no inside the 20. Inside the 20. But yeah, seeing that from Kyle Kroger, there were some ups and downs. He's had some decent games, but that's about as low as the low. And what makes me so crazy about that and so annoyed about that is just these past couple weeks, you see these real important games by the 49ers, and just this past one against the Bears, he had Thomas Morstead coming out there and punting, and he'd only punted until that game against the Bears. He'd only punted like twice all of December. That's how good the 49ers offense was. But he was coming out there and banging these 50-yard punts, and then you see him running off the field and all hyped, looking like a rookie coming off the field at 39 years old. And what do the Saints have? We got Kyle Kroger. I don't know how we ever let Thomas Morstead out the building. Had a little bit of knee issues, and Sean Payton and Mickey Loomis just thought his ass was washed, apparently. But man, making me sick seeing him doing things like that. But yeah, I think I'd like to just kind of like a couple weeks ago, like a month ago, the Saints brought in a bunch of kickers just to get a look at them and see if any of those options were better than Charlie Smith or Blake Grupe, who they had in house, and then ended up replacing Blake Grupe with Charlie Smith. But I wouldn't mind they'd bring in some new punters, because you can't be having that a 17-yard 17-yard punt, like that's the equivalent of Blake Groupie missing a 19-yard field goal in the Superdome in indoors. Like that's ridiculous. All right, so we talked about kind of the officiating being sus and the young secondary kind of having some breakdowns. Let's get into like the MVPs and hot takes and picks and scores and things like that. So my MVP for this game ended up I went with Taysom Hill because he had such a big banger of a performance the week before against the Jets. You know where he had like 40 yards passing, 40 yards receiving, 40 yards rushing, and the passing touchdown, and should have had a receiving touchdown as well. So I was assuming that Kellen Moore was going to continue to try to like feed the ball to him to try to boost his numbers and boost his memory of the Houdats of how great he was, if this is his retirement season or at least his last season with the Saints. And man, early in the game, they had a play where they had went for it on third and short and weren't able to get it with Taysom Hill. And then we're going to go for it on 4th and 1. And like right as the play is called, you see Taysom Hill break out and break away, and looks like he's gonna go take the thing to the house. And then you hear all these whistles, and the whole play stops, and it's false start. And when they showed it as a false start, I think it was Kevin Austin Jr. He hardly even saw it. And like I said, I was saying earlier with like the sus refereeing and all that, and how my competitive drive and competitive emotions have felt like they've kind of died and have just kind of gone into hibernation since the whole NOLA no call thing. That was another play that had me heated up. What was that penalty? Because I was thinking Taysom Hill was going to have a touchdown there, like a long one, like a 50-yarder, but no, it got blown dead before we could see what happened. He was at least going to get the first down. But the odd thing about that was after that happened, you didn't see Taysom Hill again. So you go from the Jets game where he had the most touches of his career to he had 3 carries in this game for 0 yards and a long of 1 yard. So he did absolutely nothing. And then he didn't have any plays receiving, and I don't think he didn't have any plays on special teams either. So yeah, I don't think you could say Taysom Hill was my MVP. I went for it again. That's the second time I went for Taysom Hill. Like I was saying when I was making the pick, I think last time, the first time I picked him, it was for the Falcons game, wanting to see him be a Falcons killer. I should have just held on to it again for the Saints Super Bowl coming up this Sunday against the Falcons and see if he could have one more game where he's a true Falcon killer. But I wanted to see. I was thinking that maybe Kellen Moore was going to continue to try to force feed the ball to him, especially when they had all their running backs were hurt. But they ended up doing that with Andre Estime. And so if we're going for offense, it's a tough one for picking a special team or offensive player of the game. It's a tough one. You could easily give it to multiple guys here. You could give it to Tyler Shock, or you could give it to Andre Estime or Chris Olave. But I think I'm going to go with the one that, like, I know a quarterback, like that's the most important position that definitely on offense holds the most weight and has the most control of like the outcome of games. But I think Andre Estime having such a good running game just boosted and brought Tyler Shuck just his ability and what his potential is like just sky high. It just elevated it. If he just has just a semblance of a running game, if they can get 100 yards rushing with like a 4.5 point average and at least a touchdown a game, I think they might have something, or they'll look at even better because Tyler Shuck just looks 100 times better. It just multiplies when he actually has a running game and he can play off that play action and hit you with some of those deep shots because he had plays of 60, 39, 32, and 36 and completions. Tyler Shuck did, but I think Andre Estime, his performance helped a lot, and definitely that 32-yard touchdown brought him back to life, you know. So I'm going to go with my player of the game, Andre Esime, who had 14 carries for 94 yards, 6.7 average, and one touchdown and a long of 32. So we're looking for at least another 100, looking for a 100-yard rusher still, it feels like, in this season. And then on to defense. I think you on defensive player of the game. I think you got to go with Chase Young just because the Saints felt like they were kind of dead in this game, like dead in the water, kind of lifeless in this game until you had Chase Young had that just just a grown man play, just absolutely absolutely sunned Cam Ward on the play where he just literally just takes the ball away from, like, pushes him to the ground and rips the ball away from him and goes for what, 32 yards and a touchdown, and just breathed life into the Saints team, not just the defense of the offense, but the entire team, just cutting the score. What that cut the score to 17, I think, yeah, 17-20 is what I think that ended up cutting the score to. Yeah, it was, yeah, 17-20, or no, that cut the score to 10-13 is what that cut the score to. And but that it felt like they were kind of out of it, being down 3-13, 13-3. They were down by 10 there, but that was a big boost. But man, the some of the back breaking plays at the end of the half there had that what looked like the Saints had them dead to right, like in a third and long play, and then gave up a big play, and then had the ball like at midfield, and Justin Reed had the the had the pass interference call, and then they were able to get what, that 7 yard pass to Aldrich Amare, 7 yards, and ended up. I was feeling real good about the game at that point at first because I thought they were going to go into halftime 13-10, but then they just felt like a backbreaker too. The touchdown at the end of the half there for the Saints. But yeah, I think you definitely go with Chase Young there for having that big play to at least wake the team up, because that's what this team does. They get down, or they kind of just basically just do nothing in the first half, and then they wake up, and then uh, Tyler Shuck just has a propensity to go supernova in the second half of these games. So Chase Young, player of the game, and then not a lot to choose from. Like, kind of like there's so much to choose from offense, not a lot to choose from special teams. But I think you go with Charlie Smith for making two 50-yarders. There were crazy stat in this game was with Joey Sly and Charlie Smith. There were like four 50-yarders made in this game. That's just, no one even bats an eye at a kicker making a 50-yard field goal anymore. Like, that's like 10 years ago, that's what people were looking at, like 40-yard field goals. That's how people feel like 50-yard field goals and in. Like, they're getting to the point where they're considered chip shots. You got kickers losing their jobs because they missed a 50-yarder now. So I'm giving it to Charlie Smith for two of three on field goals, which I know is just a 66.7 average or completion, and then had a 57-yarder and was 4-4 on extra points and 10 total points. So those are your players of the game. So Andre Esime, offensive, Chase Young, defensive, and then Charlie Smith, special teams. And now on to hot takes. And man, I'm kind of gritting my teeth on whether to say this hot take hit or not, because there's some stipulations and things that you gotta look into on exactly what happened on some of these plays here, and how Cam Jordan how his sack numbers were added to his total, like if how they were registered, I guess, because at least early on, and from some people's information or stat statistics had him getting 2 sacks in this game because one came from the play where it was on a fourth down play. You had Cam Ward like scrambling all over the place, and then just right as his knee like goes down, he like flipped it to Tajay Spears, and it looked like they were going to pick up a first down, and the drive was going to keep going. But then they did replay assist and went back and saw that his knee was down right as he was about to pitch it to Tajay Spears, and the person that had touched him right before his knee went down, which just barely grazed him, touched him, was Cam Jordan. So you'd have thought they'd have registered that as a sack for him, like 1 sack there. I know it's just like who's the closest player to him when he went to the one knee. That's usually who they give the tackle or the sack to. So you think that would be a sack. And then the play at the end of the game where Cam Ward fumbled the ball and then was able to pick it back up and throw it. Well, the person that knocked the ball out of his hand for a fumble was Cam Jordan, which that usually is a sack. That usually ends up being considered a strip sack. But I don't know why they didn't register that as a sack too, or maybe they registered both of those plays as half a sack, which ended up equaling just the 1 sack that he had on the game. But I want my hot take to stand for this. I'm thinking my hot take hit on this, even though it was Cam Jordan getting 1.5 sack and getting to double digits in this game, what it was expecting. But as it stands right now, he just has 9.5. But we got to get Cam Jordan a half a sack in this game against the Falcons. And I mean, it's the Falcons, and it's Kirk Cousins, who can hardly even move, even though he did look good against the Rams. Falcons in general kind of looked good last night against the Rams, but still, the unmobile Kirk Cousins, you at least get a half a sack to get Cam Jordan to 10 on the season. But yeah, I'm gonna say that hot take hit. But in contrast to that, my other hot take was Tyler Shuck rushing for a touchdown again and just being a little bit more mobile on some called runs and seeing him run a little bit more, maybe not be quite as quick to slide on plays. Well, I was completely wrong about that. I thought going into this game that we were going to maybe have some inclement weather and another rain game, kind of similar to the Buccaneers game where you had the 2 rushing touchdowns by Tyler Shuck, and he led them in rushing. But you didn't get that at all in this game from Tyler Shuck. He only had like 1 play where it looked like it was a planned run, and it was a play where it was like 1st and goal, and the second he saw that he wasn't going to get in for the touchdown, he just went to his knees. Like, it wasn't even a slide. He just like went down to his knee and was like, okay, defender, tag me down. Like he hardly ran at all in this game, but he had ended up having just 4 carries for 6 yards, no touchdowns, and a long of 7. And man, I'm talking about my uh, competitiveness and competitive emotion and drive and stuff like that. I got pretty heated on one of those Tyler Shuck plays where he slid and still got hit, and they didn't throw the penalty. And man, they were just saying, oh well, it was because when he got hit on the late hit, it wasn't up around the head and neck area. But I mean, it was still late. He'd still slid already and got hit. So that was kind of some ish. But yeah, not seeing Tyler Shuck running game. Hadn't really seen it since the second Buccaneers game. I haven't really seen the Tyler Shuck rushing ability, and that being part of his game. Seems like they've kind of pulled back from that a little bit after some of the big hits that he took against the Panthers, and he's still on the injury report, popping up in the injury report with a hip injury. He's got a hip contusion, a bruise on his hip. But yeah, no, didn't get that. But I think that Cam Jordan hot take still stands, even though it's a little like we said, a little suspect in whoever calculating the stats for this game. But I personally saw 2 sacks by Cam Jordan. He tagged him down on 4th down, and then he knocked the ball out of his hand on the last play of the game which should be registered as a strip sack, whether he recovers it or not. So, one of one on that, and then the pick and score here. So I thought the Saints were going to continue to win, continue their win streak, 4-0. I expected that, but I didn't expect them to score 30 points again or come close to scoring 30 points again. Like I had some belief in them, of course, that they were going to win, and had more belief that they were going to win just because of how great their defense had been playing over the past month or so. That their defense had only been allowing like 18 points a game, and then they come out in this game and in a blinking of an eye allowed 26 points to the Titans, but were able to uh, tighten, their pun intended, tighten down on the Titans later in the game and come up with the key stops that they needed to win this game. But I originally predicted it to be 23-17 for a Saints win. So I was expecting the Saints defense to come out and have another good performance against the rookie quarterback in Cam Ward, but didn't expect them to get quite as many points as they did with them getting 34. But I also couldn't have predicted Chase Young to have a 32-yard fumble recovery return for a touchdown either. But yeah, this game played out in the end how I expected it to, because I was expecting making the final score just the difference of 6 points. I was thinking that the Titans were going to have the ball a couple times at the end of the game with an opportunity to either take the lead or at least tie, and that pretty much played out like that because the Titans had the ball once there in the fourth quarter where the Saints only had like a 1 point lead, and then they had it, of course, again on the last drive where the Saints were able to get another touchdown and go up 8 points, which should have been 15 points if Dante Pettis wouldn't have fumbled and got the touchback. But yeah, it ended up being close to that. But I was about 10 points off for each team. I said 17 for the Titans. They got 26, and I said 23 for the Saints, and they ended up getting 34. So just about 20 points off there. But played out very similar, but impressive with how the Saints just, even though their season's completely cooked, man, like you can get them down 13 to nothing, 20 to 10, down a touchdown in the fourth quarter, and they just keep fighting. Like there's no quitting this team, and that's the culture that you want to see built by Kellen Moore, and what you want to see instilled with your young quarterback. And then the young quarterback at the locker room buys into your rookie quarterback, and that just spreads through the whole team. And that really feels like what we're looking at here. And yeah, the Saints aren't going to be picking in the top 3, top 5. I can't think they're sitting at the 8th pick overall in the draft at the moment. But I've said it a couple times, like if Tyler Shuck is who we think he is and who we've seen that he is over his 5-2, 5-3 stretch, then I could care less about having a top 10 pick. Like, yeah, it'd be nice to have a pick that high because then you kind of have your key picks of each position, like the best player at each position in the draft, or you have the ability to trade back. But if the Saints can have just another draft which is as good, just a semblance as good as the 2025 draft, and add some protection for Tyler Shuck and maybe a couple more skills position, and maybe some draft potential, kind of higher stock in a running back, not just these undrafted free agents or 35-year-old Taysom Hill or 31-year-old Alvin Kamara, just a running back more that can rely on, not one that's obviously injured, having injured with Kendra Miller, and then I don't want to call Devin Mill injured prone, but just injured, couldn't handle the load. But yeah, that's the Saints, 34 to 26 victory over the Tennessee Titans this past Sunday, and that was at Nissan Stadium. And so coming up in the week here, we'll have the Saints Super Bowl, and that's a battle between the New Orleans Saints at Atlanta, so the Atlanta Falcons, and with depending on how the Carolina Tampa Bay matchup turns out on Saturday, then at noon on Sunday, the Saints and Falcons game could actually end up deciding who wins that division. Like if the Buccaneers win, then I'd almost be kind of okay if the Saints lose to the Falcons. Like as crazy as that sounds, as a Saints fan saying that they'd be okay with the Saints losing to the Falcons, but I would almost be okay with it just because I don't want to see the Buccaneers win the division for like the fifth time in a row, fourth or fifth time in a row. Like I could do without that. But I think I would also enjoy a victory over the Falcons more. But hey, they gave Tyler Shuck, that young pass rush of the Atlanta Falcons gave Tyler Shuck and the Saints some problems in the first matchup, and that really was the game. Probably you could say Tyler Shuck looked the worst in. So it would be really exciting for him to have a kind of a revenge kind of game from them and have like a performance like he's had against the Titans or the Jets against the Falcons and bring home a win. And if he does that and has a good numbers in the game and brings home the win and the Saints end the season at 5-0, I mean, I don't know how you can't give Tyler Shuck the offensive rookie of the year. So I would be good offensive rookie of the year. We got awards coming in for the Saints. Offensive Rookie of the Year, Drew Brees Hall of Famer, Jari Evans Hall of Famer. Like I feel like the Saints are back. So just keep rolling and just no more injuries. Like I could just get through the season. Like that's the last thing we want to see is any more injuries so we can go into the 2025 season healthy and being concerned about winning and not rehabbing injuries. But anyways, I think that's about all I have for you. So who dat? And can I get a check, please?